Catholic. If you're watching this right now, you're probably watching a replay of this video. If not, if you're watching it in the live version, then you're more than welcome to go ahead and jump into the chat, because what we're going to be doing today is a free-for-all. We can talk about literally any topic that you would like to cover. As for right now, I do have a couple things that I would like to talk about. So I'll begin with those until I see people jumping in. Of course, right now, here in Japan, where I am now, it's 3 p.m., which means that for my friends in the other side of the world, it might be nighttime, so you might not be able to be here. So this might just be me by myself. If you see me look down, I'm just looking at the screen to see if there's anyone that is able to join us. But again, welcome to the Jewish Catholic. I think for now, just gonna roll the intro real quick. All right, and we're back right quick. Again, for those of you that know me, my name is Daniel. For those of you that don't know me, yeah, same thing. My name is Daniel. Welcome to the Jewish Catholic. Today we're going to just be having a free-for-all session, which means that we can talk about anything. If you're here right now, jump into the comment section so we can chat. Of course, I do have some things that I would like to talk about, just general things. Of course, also, please let me know if you can hear me, if you're in the live chat right now. I think we have a couple people right now. We have Veronice. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Hopefully I didn't crush it. And William. What's going on, both of you, and to everyone else who's watching? It's a free-for-all, which means now is the time to be active in the comment section. If you jumped into this video, that means you probably want to watch what's going on. So go there. Let me know any questions at all that you have. It doesn't even have to be related specifically to Catholicism or to Judaism. It could be literally about anything. But of course, more than anything, those topics would be welcome. Aside from that, I will be talking about some other topics that I just have in mind, anything that comes up, because I really wanted to talk about prayer. And as you can see in the title of this video, I wanted to talk about what it's like converting into Catholicism during this crazy time that we live in 2021. It's not the easiest of times, and it has proven to be a challenge for sure. But it's something that, every generation has had some struggle. So I understand that. But we're going to dig into that in a second. Let me see who else is here. I have my amazing friend, Des Imperator, which is always commenting with the best comments, super full of wisdom. So I appreciate you. What's going on, brother? We have Andrew coming in from Malaysia. What's going on? And Veronice says, I'll just splash some water on my face. It's probably very, very early. But yeah, go ahead. Leave your comments, leave your questions down in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and make this a fun conversation. That's the whole idea behind this video, is a conversation. I just want to talk to you all, see how you are doing, answer any questions that you may have at the moment. Aside from that, like I said, we're just going to be talking about what it's like to convert into Catholicism in this day and age, in 2021. We also have Anne joining us, saying shalom, salam, mabuhay. I don't know what that means. From the Philippines. I'm assuming that's how you say it in Tagalog. I'm not sure. We have F. Javier saying, hola Daniel, Felix de las Filipinas aquí. Many Philippine brothers. That's awesome. I actually, not just here on YouTube, but on Instagram, I have noticed that there is a large number of folks from the Philippines that are watching. And I think it's pretty awesome, because I've always had great friends from the Philippines. I remember very clearly my very first friend from the Philippines. His name is Garte. And he was a really, really cool guy. So I just love the vibes. I love that we can kind of understand each other when we say things like ¿Cómo está? And which is like Spanish, ¿Cómo está? Very similar. We got, who else do we have in here? We have Three Drifting Clouds. What's up from Alaska? What? Mind blown. That's wild. I've never had anybody from Alaska before. We got, wait, I can't pronounce this. So again, excuse me for my pronunciation. Anthtan from Singapore. Let's see. And there's an imperator saying, can you hear him? My browser is going in circles. There we go. Okay, so if the sound is good, if you don't mind, just give me a thumbs up in the comments so that I know that you can hear me. I just jumped into this. I set up really quick. I don't even know if I set it up correctly. I just wanted to chat with you guys. So leave your comments, leave your questions. Let's converse. Okay, we got a little message over here from Carla. She says, hey, other than praying the Rosary, do you do other prayers like the Divine Mercy Chaplet, a chaplet to release the 50,000 souls from purgatory? Okay, so that's a great question to begin with. Let me see if I can go ahead and add this comment again by Carla. She's asking, what other prayers other than the Rosary? Carla, you probably already know, as many of you know, that I love the Rosary. This is my Rosary here, and a little plug for my friend, the Catholic woodworker. He's the one that made this amazing Rosary. I love the colors. I love how durable it is, and it's my weapon. This is what I use every single day. So let me start by talking about this, and then I'll move on to other prayers. Firstly, when it comes to the Rosary, it was one of the first, it really was the first Catholic / Marian devotion that I dove into because I heard so much about it. And it really has proven to be the most useful, most powerful prayer in my life thus far. And what I mean by that is that out of all the things that I've done in my life, and I don't just mean prayer, any discipline, whether it's going to the gym, sticking to a certain type of diet, whether it's reading every day, for some reason, the Rosary was such an attractive thing to me and so powerful that when I jumped into it, I've been able to do it every single day from the day that I began doing it. I guess the credit is due to God and the Blessed Mother because it's something that I didn't expect that would happen. Especially because I've done different type of disciplinary acts, like, for example, the going to the gym thing that I just mentioned, or trying specific diets. I used to be really into intermittent fasting. For those of you that don't know, it's basically you have a window of time in which you fast and a window of time in which you eat. So in that, I did it for a long time, and then I was on and off and things like that. But the Rosary is something that I was able to keep from when I started, which was, I think, around March 2021 until now, every single day. So it's been an amazing prayer. Aside from that, as Carla asks, what else have I done? I really enjoy the Divine Mercy Chaplet. That's another one that I do myself. Aside from that, let me show you guys some of these things. So this right here is a Siddur that I have. It's called Shulchan Shabbat. I believe, yeah. So basically, this book right here is a prayer book for Shabbat, which is for the Sabbath, basically. For those of you that don't know, I hope that you do know because the name of my channel is The Jewish Catholic. So I still keep Shabbat, of course, recognizing that my true Shabbat is found in Yeshua. But in this book, what I do, when I begin Shabbat, when I close Shabbat, there's the prayers that you do for it here, a couple of Tehillim, a couple of Psalms. I also have this other one. Sorry, I just dropped the book. That's crazy. Oh my goodness gracious. And if you saw, I just smacked my head. That's wild. Anyway, I also have this book right here. It's a Messianic Siddur, which the person that made this actually used to be my rabbi back in the day, one of my Messianic rabbis. So this Siddur right here is a Messianic Jewish Siddur, which is a prayer book. It's also for Shabbat, but it also has for all the other Moedim, the other feasts. It's really good because it has English, it has Hebrew, and it has the transliterated Hebrew, which is basically the Hebrew words, but written in the English phonetic system so that you can read it out in case you didn't know Hebrew. Aside from that, I'm trying to find if there's anything else in here. I've been using prayer cards a lot. From another plug from a good friend of mine over here in the Catholic world. His name is Baratus Catholic. I don't know if you've seen any of his work, but this guy's amazing. He makes these kind of cards, prayer cards, and in the back you have the actual prayers themselves. It's just quick little prayers that you can use on the go anytime you need them, and I find them very beneficial because of that, because they're easy, they're short, they're powerful, and they're prayers that have been used in the Catholic Church for many, many years. So I think keeping that tradition alive is really good. Another thing, and this is actually something new to my prayer regimen, is this book. It's called The Little Office of Baltimore. This is one that I will be diving into in another video. I will be talking more about this book in another video. The reason why I dove into this is because I found out about this thing called the Divine Office, or AKA Liturgy of the Hours. I never knew about this. And it turns out that actually a lot of Catholics don't seem to know about it either. But the Divine Office is basically a set of daily prayers that is broken down through separate hours of the day. And priests, all the religious in the church, the bishops, it's something that everybody participates. In regards to the laity, the common folk like us, this is something that we are invited to participate in as well. Now, the thing about the Divine Office, is that it's split into several hours, and it's difficult for many of us to participate in every single hour. Maybe you're somebody that has a job, maybe you're in school, so you can't really participate in all the hours. But we are really invited to at least pray the morning and evening prayers. Why did I like it so much? I like the Divine Office because it reminded me so much of the type of prayer schedule that Jewish people are accustomed to. This is something that we also have in Sidurim, in prayer books. Just different prayers throughout the day that you can participate in. Aside from those prayer books that were done, like the Sidurim that you see in Judaism now, we know that in the temple times, the Tehillim, the reading of the Tehillim, the Psalms, was something that was done in the time of the temple, and other prayers. Anyway, that's just a bunch of other prayers that I do aside from my regular spontaneous prayers that I did during the day. Tons of Hail Marys, tons of Our Fathers, and all of those books. That was a very, very long answer. Sorry about that, Carla, but I hope that answers that question. Let me go ahead and jump back, because I realize now that was a bigger answer that you're probably asking for. Okay, so Anne Bahandi says that the audio is good. Verna says that the audio is good. Keep going. I'm just going down through the comments and see what you all have said. William says, let me go ahead and put this up. The Jewish Catholic, I've dealt with everything intellectually, but when I'm invited for dinner after Mass, I still can't bring myself to eat pork. How do you get over this last hurdle? I don't know why I can't. William, this is going to be a little bit of a weird answer for those of you guys out there watching that are not used to the Jewish perspective. Why? Because for Jewish people, we've been raised knowing that pork was seen as an unclean animal, right? This is what the scriptures tell us in Leviticus 11. And even Jewish tradition after that, the rabbis tell us of other things that are forbidden to be eaten. For example, mixing meat and dairy. Meat and dairy. Is that what I said? So, for me personally, I still adhere to kosher laws because I just can't stand the smell of pork. And I know that there's a lot of Catholic brethren out there that even Jewish Catholics that really enjoy pork, right? They love a good piece of bacon. Me, I can't. I can't eat shrimp, lobster, crab. I just can't deal with even the thought of eating it. So what I would say, William, in your case, if you don't feel comfortable eating those things, then don't eat it. There's plenty of people out there that are vegetarian, vegan. Some people are pescatarian, which means that you only eat fish as opposed to other meats like chicken and beef. So I don't think it should be an issue for you. If you just don't want to eat it, then you don't want to eat it. That's simple as that. I can't do it. The smell of pork, for example, here in Japan, if you guys know where I live, is in Japan, and there's a lot of ramen or ramen, as some people say it. But for ramen, a lot of the stew is made with pork, which means I can't have it because I literally can't stand the smell. I walk by these places and I gag because I just can't take it. So for me personally, I still adhere to kosher laws because I'm just so used to it. I realize that I'm not bound by those laws, but it's part of my heritage. And on top of that, I just can't bring myself to eat it. So William, for you, if you can't eat it, then just don't. Let your friends know this is something that I can eat. I'm sure that if you explain that it's just something that you don't like, that they'll be fine with it. As a matter of fact, just to give you a little story, when I came to Japan, a lot of the jobs that I went to, they wondered, why can't I eat pork? And I told them that it was because I'm allergic to it. Technically, that was not 100% true. I just can't stand the smell. And at that point, I was still practicing Judaism. So I didn't want to eat it because I felt that it would be breaking God's law. So for me now, people just know I just don't eat it. They know that I'm Jewish. But more than that, I just make it explicit that I don't eat it. So I hope that answers that question, William. I hope it helps at least a little bit. Just be honest. You don't like it, you don't like it. And it's completely fine. It's not a sin to not eat pork. So let's go ahead and move on to the next question or comment. I see a comment here by Dos Imperators saying, after helping him winning the election, then, okay, that's something that I have no idea. Maybe that was a comment response to someone else. Let me go ahead to this one from F. Javier. Oh, hey, I was curious about the name change. I didn't know that you go by Messianic Me TV previously. That's a good question. For those of you that are new to my channel, then you already know that I go by the Jewish Catholic. Prior to the name change, I used to go by the name Messianic Me TV. The reason why is because when I began this channel as a Jewish believer in Yeshua, I was practicing Messianic Judaism. So because it was a Jewish page, there wasn't that name of Catholicism, right? And I just shared my journey. I shared my thoughts, my beliefs, and things like that. And I was always transparent. I always made it clear, or at least I tried to make it clear to folks, that I was just sharing my journey. I shared what I understood to be truth, but as I progressed in my understanding and in my studies, I let people know, hey, listen, there's some things that I'm seeing that I didn't see before, or I'm understanding things in a way that I didn't before. And it got to the point where I was convinced to Catholicism being true, so I made that known. Then I started getting a lot of messages from people saying, hey, why are you talking all these Catholic things, but your name over here says that you're Messianic? So to change that and to make it less confusing for people that were coming to my channel specifically for Messianic Judaism, I told everybody, hey, I'm changing my name to the Jewish Catholic. Why? Because I'm a Jewish person, member of the Catholic Church. So I hope that answers that question. Let's go ahead and go into the next one. All right. Just a comment here, it looks like, from William saying, I'm joining RCIA. I even said, hold on, let me see, because there's something blocking that comment. Sorry, I moved it up a little bit. You guys can't see, but on my screen, there's something that's blocking the comment. And it says, I'm joining RCIA. I even said the full creed for the first time. That's awesome. But I ended up shutting down when I'm offered pork. I don't want to be disingenuous when professing the assent to the Catholic teaching. Again, I know that I already gave an explanation to this, but if anybody's coming in now, because I see that more people are joining this conversation, it's okay to not want to eat something. There is no commandment that says you must eat pork, right? So don't feel bad. If it's something that you still can't wrap your head around or your taste buds around, then don't do it. If it still feels just wrong, then that's fine. I still tell people, Catholic friends, Muslim friends, Jewish friends, secular atheist friends, Everybody knows I just don't eat pork, shellfish, all of the things that we know that are in Leviticus 11. So if you don't, just be honest. I don't eat it. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not enforcing people, like saying, hey, you better stop eating what you're eating, then that's a different story. But if it's just you personally and you don't want to partake in that, it's fine. Okay, for Antan, the question here is, what does you wearing the kippah signify? Very good question. Does it change how you acknowledge Yeshua as the Messiah? Not at all. So why do I wear it? Again, because I am a Jewish person, there's certain things that I adhere to because of my Jewish tradition. I don't do it because you're commanded to. And as a matter of fact, as a Jewish person, nothing in Torah actually commands you to do it. This is something that was developed way later on in time, where in the Shulchan Aruch, which is a set of codified Jewish law, it tells you that you shouldn't walk even 4 steps without having your head covered. But why we do it is because of the fact that it serves as a reminder that there is someone above us. And I don't wear a kippah 24/7. I wear it when I'm at home, sometimes when I'm out in the street. When I'm on my job, I'm not actually even allowed to, so I don't. It's not something that I'm commanded to wear. But I do it, again, because it's heritage. I'm used to it. And it's also a conversation piece. When people see it, they ask questions. It gives me an opportunity to share my story and share the gospel. So that's why I personally wear the kippah. Vernie said that the artwork is beautiful. I'm assuming you're referring to the prayer cards that I showed earlier. Let me see. Oh. Okay, so we have this guy. Jose Rincon. What's going on, brother? He always joins in. I'm assuming that you're Messianic. He says, William, stay away from piggy. Honor God, obey his word, be blessed. It used to be part of the commandments back in the Mosaic covenant. It's not anymore. But if you are adhering to that commandment, that's completely fine. Again, I do it myself. Let me see what else we have. Okay. I think this is something interesting to talk about. This is by Dos Imperator. He says, remember, one does not have to understand Hebrew to pray effectively. This is true as one participates by hearing. This is true Latin Mass as well, hence the transliteration. So basically, I think this is important for people that are part of the traditional Catholic branch, if you consider yourself a traditional Catholic, or if you're coming in from the Messianic Jewish world or Jewish world. A lot of people want to stick to these holy languages because they see an efficacy in it, some form of benefit, and so do I. I love praying in Hebrew, and I love using prayers that are in Latin as well, like the Ave Maria, the Pater Noster. But that's just a personal preference. God understands any language that you use, so that's not an issue. But I see that there is a benefit for me personally, because when I use these languages, I feel a deeper connection. I feel like some of the words sometimes get to the point better than an English word or a Spanish word might have, if that makes sense. But yeah, good comment there by Dos Imperator. Another comment here by Javier says, man, I'd love to invest in some of Barrett's art soon. Shipping is too prohibitive for me currently. So I'm guessing you're saying that it's a little difficult for the shipment to go there. That's understandable. I guess for some countries it might be maybe expensive shipping, or maybe it's something that you can't ship to that country. So I understand your pain. Sorry about that. Another one by Dos Imperator. If you pray the divine office, you don't have to say the liturgy of the hours. Actually, as I understand it, they're both similar. So if you can help me correct that, because from what I understand, and again, I'm new to this Catholic set of prayers, I understand that the divine office and the liturgy of the hours are pretty much the same thing, maybe just different name. So correct me if I'm wrong. The book that I'm praying, the one that I showed you folks before, this one, The Little Office of Baltimore, is a truncated version of that. So this one is just one book. It's small. The Divine Office is a 4-volume set, which I'm still hoping to get one day. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Another comment here by the best Deus Imperator. He always has great comments. Says the Rosary is a substitute for the Divine Office / Liturgy of the Hours. How is that? Because back in the day, when the lay folk didn't have access to these Latin prayers, because it used to be that the Divine Office used to be prayed only in Latin. It was inaccessible to the common folk that didn't know Latin. So most people started praying the Psalter, this Marian Psalter, which is basically praying 150 Hail Marys or Pater Noster, which is the Our Father. The reason why they prayed 150 is because the Tehillim, the Psalms, are 150 Psalms. So instead of saying all the 150 Psalms, which monks and nuns and the religious would say, they would be praying, instead of those prayers, they would be praying 150 Hail Mary or Our Fathers. So yeah, the Rosary, in a sense, the complete Rosary, which is 3 sets of the full Rosary, that would be 150 and a replacement, in a sense, to the Divine Office. But for me personally, I still pray the Rosary every day, and I'm still partaking in the Little Office of Baltimore. I just find it more beneficial for me personally. Why do I bombard myself with so many prayers throughout my day? Because I feel that the busier that I am fasting, praying, reading scripture, studying religious books, the more I'm busy doing that, the less time I have to sin. So that's why I do those things. Okay. So another comment here by An Bahandi says, what part of the Jewish tradition can I, as a non-Jewish Catholic, live out, since I have found a deeper love for the Jewish faith? I want to warn everybody that's listening, from me, coming from a Jewish person who is somebody who is pursuing the Catholic lifestyle. What can you do? Number one, I want to say that if you mean Jewish faith, Rabbinic Judaism, stay away from Rabbinic Judaism, because it's not the true faith. If you mean traditions that come down from the people of Israel, that's a different story. Like if you wanted to observe the Shabbat, observe the feast, if you wanted to keep kosher, all of those are things that you can do, because as a member of the church, I believe that that's also part of your heritage. Some people might say otherwise, and that's fine. But me personally, like for example, I have friends that come over. Some of them are Christian, some of them are atheists, some of them are part of some other religion. I invite them to my home for Shabbat to see what is done. Why? Because it gives me an opportunity to converse with them. If they see it, if they experience it, it really opens up their heart to another dimension that just conversing would not. So in your scenario, let's say you wanted to keep Shabbat. I would do so, number one, making sure that you're not doing anything that contradicts the faith, that goes against the magisterium of the church or the teaching of the church. And next to that, recognizing that none of it is done as a salvific or as something that is absolutely necessary to do, but just something that enriches your life, to understand your Messiah better, to understand the church better, to understand the roots of the faith better. If it's done like that, then I don't see an issue. All right, let's continue. By the way, great questions from everybody. I really appreciate your participation. And if you're joining in now, I don't know who's just joining. I know that some of you folks might not be able to stay for the whole thing, so if you have to leave, that's fine. But for those of you that are just joining right now, it's just a free-for-all. Shoot your questions. Shoot your comments. Let's just converse. Okay, going on. Another friend of mine that's always commenting, and I really appreciate their input, is Saint Charbel, the Miracle Worker. Hello, Daniel, and everyone. I made it. I'm glad that you're here. I really always appreciate your input. Let's move down. Just adding back to William's comment, this is something by Saint Charbel, the miracle worker. You don't have to eat pork. I don't eat it because I don't like the taste of it. Yeah, exactly what I was saying. You don't have to. And we understand that Jewish background, so there we go. This imperator says bacon, yum yum. Not for me. I'll pass. Let's go ahead to Veronice says, I love the Jesus prayer. Lord Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner. It's common in the East. Yeah, I've actually started to study more on the Eastern side of the Catholic Church, and it is something that I appreciate myself as well. I'm just going down through the comments and just seeing if there's anything, because I know you guys are all conversing as well. Patrick over here is saying, Shalom, Daniel. So, shalom to you, Patrick. I hope you're doing well. Let's go ahead and see. I like your kippah, so beautiful. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, there's different style of kippot, which are these things over here. This one that I'm wearing right now is a Sephardic style kippah. It's knitted, which is crazy because if I go to the European brothers, the Ashkenazi Jewish folk, they really are, most of them are really against knitted kippah because several reasons. I won't go into that. But Sephardic Jewish people, a lot of them carry a knitted kippah. So that's how. But I do still have Ashkenazi style as well, which is like the velvety type or just smoother type, not knitted. Let's see what else we have. Another comment in regards to pork. This is by this imperator. Remember, the prohibition against eating pork is really also a prophecy of the Catholic Church based in Rome. Read Acts chapter 10 and Acts chapter 11 to get what he's talking about. Let me see. There we go. Patrick is asking, hey, Brother Daniel, are you already baptized into the Roman Catholic faith? As of now, I'm still a catechumen. It's still in the process, and this is part of what I wanted to originally talk about in this video, which is that it's been really difficult because everything keeps getting shut down. When I started the process of catechumen, I was actually super happy because the parish that I was going to had never shut down during the whole, the close downs, the shutdowns. It was always open, but they just recently closed, maybe almost like 3 weeks ago. And it's really bad, man. I really miss going to Mass, and I miss being able to go to the classes. So that kind of is slowing down the process. So yeah, as of now, still catechumen. Okay, we have another comment in from Rangoon. Let me go ahead and put this up. I haven't even read it, but let's go ahead and put it up anyway. Hey, Daniel, I'm going to start RCIA classes next week, and God willing, I will be a Catholic soon. I want to thank you for the work that you are doing on this channel. It has strengthened my faith greatly. Hey, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, and congratulations. I hope that in your process, you don't have to go through the struggles that I'm going through here in Japan. Hopefully the parishes that you folks out there are attending are staying open. And Patrick also says praying for me as well, so I appreciate that. Let's go to Saint Charbel Miracle Worker's comment. Catholic teaching says that it's okay to eat or not to eat whatever you want. Other Catholics will understand. There are vegan Catholics too, but we don't talk about them. Ouch for the vegans. Sorry about that. Actually, funny story for those of you who don't know a lot about my background. I actually was vegan for 3 years, around 2017. Before I got to Japan, I was vegan for 3 years. Why? Because at that point, I thought that it was beneficial, and I enjoyed it, believe it or not. It was a fun discovery, learning new ways to cook. It was good to see the impact that I thought that it had, but when I moved to Japan, I realized, of course, the importance of maintaining yourself healthy, And since I didn't know what in the world I was eating because all the packages were in Japanese and I couldn't read them, I just knew, okay, this is meat and I know that I need my B12, so I ate it. And that's how I stopped being vegan. I don't know if any of you are vegan. If you're watching this, let me know. Carla says this. Have you consecrated yourself to the Immaculate Heart of Mary? If not, it would be something. Is it something you would consider? So, for Marian devotions, of course, I practice the Rosary every day. I have Miriam, which is Mary's name in Hebrew. I have images of her in my house. I include her in my request for intercession. And I read scriptures that would help me understand her better and other books that would help me understand her better. In regards to things like this, like devotion, consecrations, it's not something that I have partaken on, but I am considering doing this consecration now that the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows is coming soon. So this is my favorite image, again, by the artist that I mentioned before, Baratus Catholic. Not this image, sorry. I have a bigger version of this, but this, let's see if it'll, there we go. That is my favorite image, Mater Dolorosa, which is for the Seven Sorrows of Miriam, the Seven Sorrows of Mary. And I really have a special connection to this image and to Our Lady of Sorrows. The reason why, it's because when I started praying the Rosary, when I started seeing the Passion of our Lord through the eyes of the Blessed Mother, it took things to a deeper level that I never got before. And it helped me appreciate the sacrifice of the Messiah so much more. Because seeing it through the eyes of a mother, seeing it through the eyes of her specifically as the mother of Yeshua, it's just powerful. So that's a consecration that I'm considering. All right, let me keep going. Good question over here by Ann Bahandi. Do you wear the kippah during Mass or consecration? No, I don't. I don't wear my kippah to Mass because I don't want to start trouble. We know in Scripture that Paul tells us to not be a stumbling block, right? He was referring to specifically to the eating of certain meats. So for me, I don't want to be a stumbling block for those that don't understand why I wear a kippah, that don't understand my background. So that's why I don't. Let's see what else we have. I'm just going down through the comments again, folks. If you have comments, questions, let me know down on the comment section below. Okay. This is a good comment. Another one by Ann Bahandi. For me, the sacred languages distance us from the outside world and connects us to the past. Yeah, I guess for some folks, I can see why it could be a negative, and for some folks, a positive. Negative because perhaps you don't understand the language, but positive because maybe you do understand it. And I think everybody should try to at least learn some of the prayers. I think it will be a benefit to anyone. Why not? To understand these languages, at least some of the prayers like the Ave Maria, Pater Noster, and any other prayer that you can think of. Even the Rosary, completely done in Latin. I'm just going down through the comments. Some of them, again, they're conversation between you guys, so I'm not going to answer those. Okay, let me see. Okay, this one's a good one. By F. Javier. Non-religious question, if it's cool. Since your wife's Japanese, how do Japanese folk generally view mestizo children there? Mestizo meaning mixed, or as they call them here in Japan, hafu. How do they view half children? If I was living, perhaps a couple of decades back, in Okinawa, or in the southern part of Japan, they would probably see it as a really bad thing and look into history for that reason. But it's basically seen really, really bad, and half children, hafu, were seen as negative. and they would get picked on and bullied a lot. Now, I live in Tokyo. Tokyo is generally quite, international. They're used to seeing gaikokujin, which is foreigners. So because of that, it's not really a big deal. And as a matter of fact, we get so many compliments. It's so funny. When people see just my wife, they're always asking, "Oh, is he half? Like, is he mixed?" Because he looks a little bit different than just 100% Japanese. And people find them cute, I guess, because the eyes are a little different, or just facial features. And Japanese people are really attracted to Western facial features. That's how the interactions have been. Of course, that's just a general statement, but that's how some people feel. Okay, this is a good question by Jose Rincon. When you were Messianic, what was your favorite Torah portion? Given the giving of the Torah, I think was my favorite Torah portion because of that. Because it was, so first of all, for those of you that don't know what a Torah portion is, you know how we have the daily readings in the Catholic Church where we have readings from the Old Testament, from the prophets, from the Gospels, and from the other epistles? In Judaism, we also have this thing called the Torah portion and the Haftarah. The Haftarah is a reading from the prophets, or from the prophets. So for the Torah portion, which is one of those readings throughout the year, my favorite was when the giving of the Torah was read. The reason why, it's because it was the moment that was so clear in front of so many witnesses in which God made himself present. It's such a powerful way. Fire on top of the mountain, cloud, smoke, lightning, sounds, people dying in fear. It was powerful. And we hope for the day in which the Mashiach will return in a powerful way. Thank you, Jose, for that great, great question. Okay. As I'm reading through these, I'm realizing that these comments is something that you left way behind in the beginning of the conversation, but I'm taking so long to read them. All right. Let me go ahead and put this one by Dos Imperator. Our prayer before meals is a Jewish Shabbat prayer, almost word for word. Blessed be, O Adonai, for these we receive from your plenitude. Amen. This is almost the same prayer by Catholics. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, like when you're doing Shabbat and you're doing the prayer for the bread in specific, and for other times that you might do it when you're using grain, the prayer is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. That prayer, thanking God for the grain, or the bread of the earth, as it is called, is very common in Judaism. It's one of the primary prayers said in Shabbat. And this is very similar, not only to this that a lot of Catholics say before meals, but also very similar to what the priests, bishops say during Mass when they're consecrating the Eucharist. So I think that was a pretty awesome observation. Saint Francis Xavier is missioned on Japan. As a matter of fact, yes, I realize that because a lot of the congregations, a lot of the parishes over here have a devotion to Saint Francis Xavier. And one of the very close parishes where I live is that one. Okay, Mac Spanky. Nice name. Let's see what this one says. What's the best way to reach Messianic Jews or Protestant Jews to bring them to the fullness of the Christian faith in Catholicism? Okay, any type of question like this is always in general. You know, everybody has their own views. Everybody has their own way of understanding things. So it's never going to be like, okay, this is the perfect key for everyone. Particularly when it comes to my Messianic brothers, I think the best two things to work with, actually, you know what? This could work for everyone. And I've said this before. I think the best two things to consider are the Eucharist and the true presence of Yeshua in the Eucharist, and the fact of authority. The Eucharist, because it helps cancel out every other faith. If Yeshua really is present in the Eucharist, then it's really a sacrifice, and it's really Him, which means anything else that any other religion is doing, it's not God, it's not there. But if Yeshua, God in the flesh, He really manifests Himself through the Eucharist, then why go anywhere else? And you might think, okay, what about the Orthodox Christians? We can go to them, right? Because they also have the apostolic succession and they also have the Eucharist, in a sense, right? No, they really do have it, actually. Sorry, I didn't mean to say in a sense in that way. Then it goes to authority. Why the Catholic Church? For me, because it follows the same example that we see in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament scriptures. We have Moshe and we have the elders. We go to the Sanhedrin, we have the Nasi, and we also have the other elders, the judges, the rabbis that would be part of the court, the Beit Din Hagadolah or the Beit Din Hagadol. So because of that, if you dig into those specifics, then it makes sense. So just to refer you to a couple other things that I have a video called Messianic Explores the Eucharist. This is before when I was still practicing Messianic Judaism, so check that video out. And the other video that I have is The Priesthood Still Matters, or you may find it under the New Covenant Priesthood. Check those two videos out and they will help answering those questions of how to best approach Messianic believers. And another video, as a matter of fact, just go to my playlist called The Essentials. If you really understand what I'm talking about in those videos, I think you can reach anyone, whether it's a Messianic Jewish person or a Hebrew roots person or somebody who's Protestant. Or even somebody who's just Jewish, non-believer in Yeshua. Okay. Vernice says, can you explain the kippah? Again, as I mentioned before, for me personally, this head covering serves as a reminder of God being above us. That's what it's usually served as. Also, when you're wearing a kippah, it's really hard to keep your head up because it slips back unless you clip it on. This one right here is not clipped on, so you might see me like messing around with it, trying to get it on the right position. But it also keeps your head down, right? So a lot of people say that because it helps you keep your head down, it helps you to remind yourself to be humble, to not be acting all proud and haughty, right? Oh yeah, satin, silk kippah. That's what I was trying to say before. Thanks, Deus Imperator. Nathan has a comment question here. Let's go ahead and put it up. I haven't actually read it. By the way, if you folks notice that it's getting darker in here, it's because the sun's going down. So I might end this live stream in a couple minutes. But let's go ahead and keep going through the questions. Nathan or Nathan Alex says, actually headed to bed but drawn to the title. Converted from Protestantism earlier this year. Prayers for you and the Jewish brothers and sisters. Saint Teresa of Benedicta of the Cross. Ora pro nobis. Amen. Thank you for that. Patrick says, I'm also Sephardic like you, brother, but I'm Catholic religious. When you say you're Catholic religious, do you mean like you are part of an order? If so, let me know, Patrick, because that would be really awesome. And Deus Imperator is also Sephardic. Hey, Sephardic Tim, let's go. Just question, if any of you that are watching have Jewish background, are you Ashkenazi? Because actually a lot of the people that I interact with here on YouTube seem to be from Sephardic background. So I think that's pretty cool. Patrick says, thanks for answering the question. Absolutely no problem at all. So Patrick, you answered the question before I actually read it. Patrick says, as a Catholic religious, I have a brown and black skull cap or kippah. That is super cool. And I don't know what group this is, what set from the religious, what order this is, but I believe that there's some folks over in Brazil and they wear a brown skull cap, brown kippah, and it looks really cool. Okay. Three Drifting Clouds says, can you talk about some of your fasting disciplines, trying to get deeper with the practice? Awesome question. So what do? Typically, what I do, of course, I do my Yom Kippur fast. The Yom Kippur, if you guys don't know, it's for the Day of Atonement once a year. I definitely do that. Aside from that, anytime that I want to get deeper into faith, if I'm praying for someone or for a cause, I will do a prayer then. And typically what my prayers look like is only water, or maybe only liquids with no carbs. So that would be like some teas and coffee and water. Something that doesn't affect my metabolism in any way that will break a fast. And aside from those fasts, I started doing the typical Christian prayer, which would be on Wednesdays and Fridays until sunset. So basically, let's say, for example, I won't eat anything until sunset that day, Wednesdays and Fridays. Aside from that, what I've been doing lately, that this past week and this week that we're going on to now, not the weekends, only during the weekdays, I'm doing that same type of fast. Not eating anything, not anything that activates my metabolism until sunset. And of course, it does have health benefits. But the primary reason is because I just want to get into a more intense relationship with God. In these crazy times that we're living in, I invite everyone to dive not only into prayer, but into fasting as well. Okay, just real quick, folks, I'm going to go ahead and hold on. You see it's getting really dark. I'm going to brighten this lighting up a little bit. Hold on. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better. It was just starting to get really, really dark. So those are my fasting practices, and always doing prayerfully and always offering up to God whatever you're doing, any sacrifice you're giving, because it counts. Proceeding, we have another question here. This is from Utami that says, how is a Catholic worshiper growth in Israel? I have no idea, because I actually don't personally know Catholic folks in Israel, and I haven't actually even checked what the faith is looking like there. So to be honest with you, I have no idea. I live in Japan. Let's keep going. Interesting comment here by Saint Charbel, the miracle worker. Our daughter wears a mantilla veil to mass, and she gets looks and stares, but she said it helps her spiritually. That's awesome. Look, when it comes to veiling, that's different, right? Catholics are usually more in traditional circles. Catholics are used to veiling. So for me personally, I find veiling a really great demonstration of modesty, and I respect it. That's one of the reasons why I respect a lot of Muslim women, because the way that they are so into modesty. Of course, not the ones that are doing it only because they're being oppressed wherever country they're from. I'm talking about women that really love God and they just want to devote themselves to God, and they want to really be modest. So when it comes to women, Catholic women in particular, wearing veils at Mass, I think it's beautiful. I think it's great. The parish that I go to, it's crazy. Here in Japan, a lot of the women in my parish veil, and it's not even like it's not traditional Latin Mass. It's a Novus Ordo Mass. And the women there veil, literally at least maybe 50%, 60% of them. And not just the older women, even young women do it too. So I think it's pretty awesome, and I really respect that. Let me keep going. All right, so this is from Angie B. Let me go ahead and put this up. And for anybody that's joining, hello and welcome. It says, excuse me, I've been listening for just 10 minutes. Are you coming out of the Jesse faith and go? I don't know what Yeesh. Oh, maybe that was just a typo. Are you coming out of the Jewish faith and going into Catholicism? Okay, a quick snippet of my history. Even though you can find my testimony in my channel, it's called What I Believe Now. In that video, it'll explain what I believe, but I made that video a couple of months back. Anyway, a little bit about me. My heritage, my ancestors, they are Sephardic Jews. Jews that come from Spain and from North Africa. Half actually. The half is from North Africa and half is from Spain. And actually from France as well. But my ancestors are Jewish. When they got to the Americas, to Central America, they were practicing, and then the faith kind of died off because it was a very Christian area of the world. So when my parents came, they were not really practicing anything, even though they believed in God. Then later, my dad, when he moved to the United States, he became a Protestant Christian in the Pentecostal realm. From there, I was raised in Pentecostal Christianity until over a decade ago. That's when I started just questioning everything. And I made a couple of discoveries, and it got me into Messianic Judaism. And I was living halachically as a Jew, kind of like a Baal Shuvah, which is basically somebody that goes back into Judaism even though you have Jewish ancestry. So I was living halachically as a Jew. For those of you that don't know what that means, it means that I was living according to Torah law, even to the rabbinic standards of Torah law. And I lived as a Jew, and about 2 years ago, I started discovering the truth of Catholicism. And about a year ago, I really started diving into the faith, and now I'm a catechumen. So that's the quick version of the story, but check out my channel. I have a couple of videos. I also have a playlist called Conversations, which is basically me being interviewed by other YouTubers or me interviewing other YouTubers. And in those conversations, you will see a little bit more of my story. Okay, so hold on, I'm just go ahead and check. This is an interesting question by Anbahandi. Thanks for the distinction between temple and rabbinic Judaism. However, saw a video of a Jew kissing a small scroll by the door. What is it called, and what is it used for? Just curious. So what you're talking about is called a mezuzah. Mezuzah, as some people say mezuzah, and some people say mezuzah. So the pronunciation is depending on where you're coming from. The mezuzah or mezuzah is a scroll that contains the Shema, which is basically Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, and other scriptures that are tied to the Shema. In that scroll, it's contained the commandment that says that you are supposed to talk to your children about the Torah, to talk about it when you awake, when you go to sleep, when you're on the way, and to put it on the doorposts of your home. So that scroll, it's taken literally. It's a literal version of what that verse means. And Jewish people have for millennia, for millennia, written those scrolls, and they would put it inside of a little tube, and that goes on the doorposts of your home. I have a mezuzah in my home. So when you go through my house, if you see me enter, you'll see that I do like. That's because you are honoring what that commandment says, which is to love God and to speak about Him, to think about Him, and to teach about Him. So that's basically the mezuzah. All right, hope that helps. Let's keep going down through the comments. I see you are all having conversation with each other, which is great. All right, a question here by Carla. Do you know about Marian apparitions like Fatima, Lourdes, Guadalupe, Rosa Mística, and Medjugorje? Yes, I know about them. I can't say that I'm like super educated in them, but one that I really have been trying to dig into more is Our Lady of Fatima. As a matter of fact, again, I'm going to show you an image by Emeritus Catholic. This one right here. It's a beautiful image that he made in regards to the Blessed Mother in Fatima with the three children right there. And the reason why I like this apparition in particular, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, it's because it was so wide, right? So many people got to see it. It was through a really large expanse of time. There was visible miracles. People that were non-believers got to witness this. There's photographs that show this story. There's video. I think there's video, actually. No, I think that's just photo. But there's a lot of evidence behind this from people that are skeptics and that came to be believers and devout in the faith after this event. But the message is also very powerful and very relevant to our times. And we have seen many of the prophecies come to pass in history. Specifically what we're seeing now with the errors of Russia. Also because it ties itself with Our Lady of Akita, which is an apparition here in Japan. So I think that's those are the ones that are most well known. I really also like and appreciate Our Lady of Guadalupe, because it was such a huge conversion of basically pagans, the native tribes of the Mexico region, and they came to believe. So I think that was a very powerful time. Okay, let me go ahead and put this comment by F. Javier. Say, Daniel, I see some Christians seem eager to restore the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, also the priesthood. Is this something Catholics should look forward to? What are your thoughts? No, it is not something that we should look forward to. Why? Because as the people of God in the Catholic Church, we recognize that our Messiah is Yeshua, and that the temple, the true temple, is Him and is manifested through us. We are part of the body. We are part of the mystical temple, if you will. And we know, as Scripture tells us, the Antichrist, the Anti-Mashiach, the Sheker HaMashiach, will be the one who's going to pretend to be God using that very same temple. It will happen, I believe. It will be rebuilt. This is my opinion, right? Don't take any of this too hard. Don't take it at face value. Just take it with a grain of salt. I personally believe that the temple will be rebuilt, but it's something that we don't want. In regards to that priesthood, the Levitical priesthood is not valid anymore. The priesthood was expanded and brought back to the original priesthood of Melchizedek. Please watch my video called The New Covenant Priesthood to understand why this whole desire for the Levitical priesthood to return is not good. So just check that out. Video 4 from Jose. Does Tokyo have Messianic fellowships? Yes, it does. And I used to attend the one and only congregation that was available here. It was a good congregation. I really loved the people there. However, I started discovering Catholicism around the same time that I started congregating with them. And little by little, I just started attending less and less. And now I haven't been there since the last fall feasts. So I'm going to keep going down. Okay, this is by another person. This is Hevander, 75. Hello, what do you think when you see a video claiming that the Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon, a force of evil? Oh my goodness gracious. Number one, I was raised as an anti-Catholic. So I've heard all of the arguments, every single thing. Catholics worship Mary. The Pope is the Antichrist. The saints are demons that are being worshipped by Catholics. The Catholics changed the Bible. The sacrifice of Yeshua is not valid for the Catholics. I've heard every single argument. And I think it's so funny when people try to tell me, just read the scriptures so that you would see. Bro, please. I came from where you're coming from. I know all your arguments. There's nothing new under the sun, and definitely not when it comes to these arguments. I've heard it all. So when it comes to this, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit, and I still watch these things just to see if there's anybody that came up with some new intellectual argument that I might have missed. But it's always the same parroting that takes the Catholic Church and defames it by using false arguments, by using biased history, by using obscure sources, and by using a lot of emotion behind what they speak. So it's nothing to be taken seriously. If you're a Catholic who's not strong in their faith, study the faith before going into those videos, because then you'll see that pretty much everything that these people are speaking of is false. So hope that answers that. Let's see what else. Interesting question by Doesn't Parrot. Maybe slipping because it's knitted. I'm bold on top, but my satin silk kippah does not slip off. I only have two, a black and another dark blue. I don't know. Why does this one slip off? Maybe it's because my hair is just too long and I need to cut the top of it. I actually just cut my hair. By the way, I cut my own hair. But on top, it's really long, and I actually wear wax sometimes. Right now, I'm wearing a little bit of wax Because my hair, if I don't, it's going to become into like a little Jew fro, as we call it. It's very curly. This is actually me trying to straighten it. And it's so humid that it just started curling anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and continue through the questions. By the way, folks, I might not be able to get all of the questions. I'm just going one by one. I'm sorry if I missed your question. I'm thinking if I should go all the way to the bottom of the questions, but I just didn't want to skip through any of you guys' questions. Let's go ahead and put this one by Max Mankey. Is it just me, or do the cardinals and the Pope wear a kippah? It's called a Zucchetto, but it's basically the same thing. And as a matter of fact, the modern day kippah is inspired by the Zucchetto. Just in case for those of you folks that might not know about that history. Let me just keep going down. Man, you guys took it seriously. I said to ask questions, and you really are asking questions, so I appreciate it. This is a very kind comment. That's why I'm sharing it. Utami says, wow, you're so amazing as a catechumen. You definitely have read and learned a lot about Catholicism. Yeah, you kind of have to as a convert. I was raised anti-Catholic, like legit thinking the Catholic Church was the whore of Babylon, thinking all of these things that were, of course, lies. But when I started studying the earliest believers, and I'm talking about like the pre-Nicene fathers, the apostolic fathers, that's when everything started to change in my mind, and I became curious. And then I started studying about Catholicism, and I'm like, wait a second. Everything that I was taught was a lie. People have been lying about the Catholic Church. This is not what the Catholic Church believes. This is not what it's practicing. Why was I taught this? And then, of course, we find out why people just hate the church. So basically, I had to study up. And I get bombarded every single day with attacks. Not just through YouTube, but I run another account in Instagram, also by the same name. So just a little shameless plug, The Jewish Catholic on Instagram. So if you have Instagram, head over there and follow me there. Okay. I'm going to put this one up, even though it's like an anti-Catholic comment. Okay, so this is Angie. Catholicism is Baal worship. They change our Savior's name, His commandments, His feast days, His holy Shabbat, and introduce idol worship. They are a deception. Why would you go from the true faith? Again, like you, I understood things to be a certain way, but then I discovered that everything that had been taught about the church is a lie. And I guarantee you that if you've ever studied Catholicism, it's either coming, if you say, I used to be Catholic, bad catechesis. If you're coming outside of the church, then you're getting bad sources. So I'm sorry to say this, and I mean this with a very kind heart. I know that you feel a certain way, but I promise you that whatever you've been taught about the church is wrong. And what you're believing here, I can dissect the doctrines that you're talking about, and there's a lot of issues with them. So for you, Angie, open your heart. If you're watching this, you've been watching already for a couple minutes, I suggest watch my videos, The Essentials. Do it with an open heart. Be honest with yourself and with what I provide as evidence as why I believe what I believe. And I think it'll change your mind. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, we actually finally got to the end. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this. If anybody out there has any last comments, I know some of you are just joining, but if you have any more comments before we go ahead and close this live stream, any questions, any comments, go ahead and leave them in the chat right now. We're going to go ahead and answer those. Otherwise, I just want to go ahead and thank you all for being part of this conversation. It's been really fun. It was an off the fly. I gave no warning. I literally told my wife, hey, you know what? I got some time. Let me go ahead and make a live video. So then I just jumped on and I did this live stream. Plenty of participation, as we can see over here in the live chat. So thank you all for participating. And I see that some more people are still joining in right now. So if you have any questions or any comments, this is a free for all. So go ahead and comment or ask questions. We just got one more comment over here coming from Chelsea saying, oh no, sorry, that was Cheska. I can't barely read. Hello, brother. I like your videos. Thank you for sharing your knowledge to us. I learned a lot of things from you. Love from the Philippines. Much love to you, Cheska. Thank you for participating and for following along in the journey. I really, really hope that my content is helpful and useful. My whole mission here is just to share a little bit about the roots of the faith, to share my journey, and use what I know to help people out there to love God more. Okay, next one says, so, oh wow, you guys bombarded real quick. Angie says, I have done a lot of, this is the comments that we see a lot. Angie, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing because I know your type of comment. I have studied a lot and researched. It is a commandment that we are not supposed to worship idols and pray to them. I agree, and so does the church. We do not worship idols. And the fact that you think that that's what we do shows how little you know about what the actual church is teaching. And I know that because I was where you are. Trust me. I was where you are. And I've been studying this for a long time. And I've been living in Messianic Judaism and practicing Judaism for over a decade. So any argument that you could come up with, any scripture, any rabbi commentary that you could come up with, I know them. Trust me. I'm really not trying to sound cocky. I'm not trying to say that I'm a know-it-all. But literally to this day, I have not met anybody bring up an original argument that I haven't already dealt with. Anyway, let's go ahead to William. Just got my English Latin Summa Theologiae. Have much to read on that. Good night. Good night, William. I hope that you are blessed by the reading of that. Sorry, my son just woke up, if you guys can hear his crying over there. So that's another reason for me to get out. Let me see what else we got. Comment, I guess, is a response to Angie before. LOL, Shabbat. Worship on the new covenant. Remember what Rabbi Yaakov, the teacher of Yehuda Hanassi, said that Shabbat would one day was preparation for the banquet that will be laid out in the Olam Haba. Exactly. The rabbis said that there would be a fulfillment of the Shabbat. Like, this is what the rabbis were expecting, the 8th day. If you study Judaism, this is what it points to. And hence Sunday, the day of the Lord. I still keep Shabbat. I remember it because it's remembering the Exodus from Egypt and because it's the day of rest. But just something to keep in mind. What do you think about the Holy Crusades? Okay, this is a question by Jay. There's a lot to that that's really too much to answer right now, but a lot of it is misunderstood information for a lot of people that think that the whole thing behind the Crusades is just murdering Jews or just murdering people without cause. The Crusades were meant to protect the faith. There were some people that got involved later on that just went haywire, and those people's fault is not the fault of the church itself. Let me go ahead and continue 1 second. Sorry. Angie says, thank you for answering. I will pray you come back. And I will pray that you realize that you're not really understanding the faith, the Catholic faith. So I pray that you'll understand it. How did you put in mind the stare of the truth? No? Let me go ahead and put this up by Havander. How do you put your mind in a state to truly believe the Eucharist is God in front of you? Because I just simply believe what Yeshua said. He said, this is my body. And then he said, this is my blood. And I believe what he says. Now, the same people back in the day, the Jews that were right there said that this is a hard saying. And it is a hard saying. But if you believe in God and if you believe that what he's saying is true, then you will believe it. We know in the scriptures that when God said, let there be light, there was light. When he said to somebody, be healed, they were healed. And when he said to a piece of bread, this is my body, it was his body. And when the priest in persona Christi does the consecration over the Eucharist, it becomes really the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord. All right. I'm going to have to stop all the comments because, as you can see, my son is going wild in the other room. So thank you again all for watching. I appreciate your participation. If you're watching this later on, I hope that you enjoy the conversation and that you're able to join next time if you missed this one. But if you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section below, even if you're watching this after, and I'll try to respond to those good comments and good questions that you leave. Anyway, everyone, have a blessed week. I hope you enjoyed this chat. Shalom.